It's now been over 2 years since I made the decision to book a one-way ticket to Bali, and I've been living out in Asia ever since. I'm going to share with you in this video why I made the decision to leave the comfort of the UK, comfort of home, to come to a new place and what I've learned along the way. So I was working at home, I was living with my parents, I was working in a local marketing agency. And about 6 months before I decided to leave the UK, I set up my own business. So this is a key part of the story because this gave me the freedom to explore this as more of a long-term idea where I could live in a different place, a different country, and still make an income online. So I felt for a long time that I wanted to travel. This was something I kept saying to myself internally. It's something I kept saying to friends. And I really got to a point where I was kind of frustrated with myself because I was saying this to everyone, but I wasn't booking the flight. I wasn't taking action. And for me, it was actually, I had to face more pain to force me to leave. So one of the actual fears I had and one of the reasons I wanted to travel and experience another part of the world was I was worried that eventually I'd meet someone in the UK, I'd start another relationship, which I wasn't in at the time, and I felt that could have kept me trapped. So I was really worried about that happening. And it was actually took for a relationship to break down for me to take that decision. And it's only going online, it's only booking a flight, that's all we have to do. But there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of weight in that decision. But I did do it. I booked that flight, I turned up, I boarded it, and I think one of the biggest things I wanted to get out of this experience was forcing myself to face different challenges. I think in the UK it's very easy for us to go on the standard path where we go to university, we get a job, get married a bit later, and it's a pretty linear progression and so many people do it. And I was on that same path. But I always felt that I wanted to do something a little bit different in terms of my life. I was forced to encounter pain and overcome challenges as soon as I landed. So I'd had a 24-hour flight. I was absolutely exhausted. And I found out my bags were left behind in Singapore. So it's not the end of the world. The second thing was I opened my phone and I'd had a legal notice from my old company, which happened to land when I was on that flight. So I was really panicked. I was really stressed about that. I felt my heart beating out my chest. And then for some strange reason, I decided I'm going to go and get a SIM card. I'm going to get something sorted. Then lost my UK SIM, which I kind of need for my business. So by stepping out of my comfort zone, I was immediately forced to encounter these challenges that maybe if I'd stayed in the UK, I wouldn't have. Interestingly enough, that day was probably one of the worst days in the past 2 years that I've had. So I was immediately forced to deal with that pain and by stepping out of my comfort zone. It's been a long-term dream of mine to travel, and one of the great things about living in Vietnam, which is where I'm based at the moment with my Vietnamese girlfriend, you get to travel to a lot of places in Asia. So I've been to Thailand, Indonesia, I've been to Japan, South Korea, Nepal, a few others. But it's similar to in the UK where we have Europe and a lot of people get the chance to travel to Italy, Spain. And it's the same being out in Asia, so it just gives me a different location and allows me to go and see new places. And that's been a really enjoyable part of being out here. I think one of the cons of being out here and working outside the UK and particularly somewhere like Da Nang, which is where I'm living, is people come and go all the time. People are here for 3 months often. It's a 3-month visa. So that's something I have to do. I have to go in and out and renew it. And that makes it difficult to form those longer term friendships that you might more easily be able to find in somewhere like the UK, where most people are there for multiple years. It's much easier to build up solid friendships. I have got there in the end, but you do have to put yourself out there and accept you're going to meet a lot of people who maybe move on. But in that process, I have been able to find more sort of stable and long-term friendships. The people who similar to me are here for a really long time. One of my biggest challenges as part of this process was really bursting this bubble of the idea that once I'm working remotely, once I'm living in Da Nang, once I maybe don't have loads and loads of work to do, obviously earning UK money in somewhere like Vietnam where you can easily live on less than $1,000 a month, you'd imagine it would be really everything you might have dreamed of, and you would be feeling really good all the time. Any of us who I think have achieved anything in our lives and reached the goal that once we dreamed of, it wasn't like that for me. I had all this free time, and actually it was really uncomfortable to face this in terms of what am I actually doing with my life and what's my long-term vision, because I'd set up this business with the goal of being able to work online remotely and to be able to create an income, and then the idea is I can enjoy my life. But then it's really, for me, it was a challenge to work out how I want to spend my time. I found out that is more helping other people in terms of doing men's work, coaching guys, and providing spaces for men to really develop and work on themselves. But in that process, I had a lot of days where I'd wake up and I wouldn't feel very inspired. I'd be questioning, what am I doing here? I'm just sort of looking forward to trips and stuff and having good experiences, but I need more to life. I need purpose and I need meaning. And this is where, when you see people in places like Da Nang, anywhere in Asia, where maybe you're working online, I think a lot of people maybe struggle with purpose, because we all believe that once we get to this stage where, oh, I'm working online, I'm working remotely, everything's going to sort of turn out really well, because we see this online, we see it on social media. But my bubble was really burst because I had all this excitement and I had great experiences. But actually, there was a very long process of going down wrong paths to find out what I'm interested in. And after I'd been here for a year, kind of by default, I was just like, I'm going to work on growing my business because I didn't know what else to do. And really, that was one of my least happy times while I was here. I wasn't very content because I wasn't going after and doing the work that was meaningful to me. And I'd also add that I believe we can do work that isn't that meaningful. That can be, our job doesn't have to always be meaningful, but I think it also we need to have a reason for doing that. So that was one of the things I've learned. So that's kind of just an overview of my experiences. I'm not someone who left the UK thinking the UK is like going really downhill, which actually a lot of people out here seem to think that. And I don't like that mindset at all. I'm not that kind of person. I'm looking forward to at some point moving back to the UK with my girlfriend. But those are all the kind of key challenges I've learned. It's been a great experience. I think I've experienced a lot more growth compared to if I just stayed in the UK. I had to take a lot of responsibility for my life, for my own experiences, and I've got an amazing relationship and have had huge benefits from taking this risk. But there are also downsides and challenges along the way. So it's never going to be smooth sailing if you're making this kind of decision. You're going to learn to kind of go deeper in terms of understanding what you really want from life, because for me, there was only so long where I could spend sort of just enjoying the beach, and we realised that as humans, we maybe want something that's more meaningful, that's deeper for us. So that's been my key learning. So I hope this video was helpful. Please share it with anyone who may like to hear this message, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.